Howdy, I love you. And my name is Love in Two Shoes Cottingham for you this day to become the Christ. A revelation of? Or will it be more than a consciousness that you are one? You can attain to or become acquainted with accepting a belief theory. Will you become the Christ race? A race of Christ. A race. A member of light beings. Beings of light. Beings that did the things Jesus do, or do the things that Jesus did, or we become Christ, the Messiah of, not again a religion of. Will you divorce Christ from Christianity now? Will you no longer be looking to imbibe a philosophy, an understanding that men have given you? Will you become something new? A new creation. A new creation you. A new you. A born again you. A born again Christ. Christ born again. Christ born again that is you. Becomes you. The two shall be one. You see, this is not about marriage to faith, marriage to an idea of philosophy, or recounting a narrative of a story that's maybe even been so important to you in the past. This is about becoming something new, someone brand new, a newly created being, a Christ in your shoes, my friend, a Christ who looks like you, does the things you do, you did, you are, you will. Becoming, what are you? No longer a design of flesh, no longer a design limited to the AI of your mind, no longer programmed algorithmically, no longer perceiving just syllables as words that wiggle in your ears or create tendrils or tentacles in your brain. Your perceiving unit, your perception unit, your transceiver. Are you the creator not knowing it? Are you willing to ask the hard questions? Valid questions. Questions about originality, the origin of source, source of the source, source of the universe, universe of the source, universe of your mind, the mind that is cataclysmic to all else and other, the mind that's no longer trying to control each other, no longer trying to emanate the rays of influence and pardons to experience your vicarious atonement. I'm the president, I'm common people. I'm common people of every nation, tribe, and tongue. Christ. Christ is a race, you see. Christ, anomaly of not again. For the anomaly was Jesus not, or was he the ascended one, or simply the first of many brethren? Many people in a race, not just men, but women. Women Christ. Yes, a woman Christ. Birth me, will you? Birth the Christ. Instead of believing Christianity, that it was so perfect, or that it is a replicant of my words, will you see for yourself what words your words are, and whose source are you using now, no longer befouling you. Christ is a race. Many of you are aware of a term called the Christ consciousness. You may have read about it. You may feel it. You may interact with it. You may have a number of associations with that term, the Christ consciousness. But I'm asserting to you this day, positing, presenting you a revelation that may be revealed to you if you prohibit it not. Are you willing to see Christ is a race? Not limited to feeble people who just want to stay on the earth, inhabit pews, pray little prayers, do their rites and rituals, sing hymns, worship courses, file out, file in, sit down, listen, be pronged with the pricks of the sermon that establish their neurons in you. They establish their neurons in you when you listen to them and receive them, accept them, belittle them not, but grow them in you, as Christ grows the church? Or was the church never a part of God's mind? Unconditional love? What if Christianity hijacked the message? What if it just took over? Or what if a political party just took over the message of Christ, called it Christianity, declared it would be the official religion of that day, that kingdom? For its purposes? Or will the mind finally be released from all that you have held inside you? Will the mind? Will your mind? Will your mind be joined to no other? Will you, the two of you, stand at the altar and become one? Or will you no longer be at anybody's altar to submit to their perishment, their peril, their apparel, and their robes? Light people are coming forth now from every nation on this earth. Light people, people of light. People that you cannot conquer. People who know what it is to know who they are, but not in the philosophy of it. They actually become it. You see, you grow Christ if you become it. There's interaction. You begin to interact with the seed. Remember, I spoke a couple days ago about interaction comes before consciousness. Consciousness comes before creation. So what are you creating? The Creator. Leadership. I'm creating leadership. I'm a school of leadership. I'm leadership in two shoes, being led no more by the failure of mankind's mind to grasp me, torment me, put me in its flesh, use me for its power. Or am I channeling? Or am I just spouting a belief theory? Or are you worshiping no other? To believe in life as other, will you be Christ in your shoes? You see, I've tried to explain over and over the system of Christ, not, but that Christ and Christianity are two very, very different things. Polar opposites. But see, people will know now and create Christ in their shoes because they have the seed, they receive the seed. The seed of what? The Word? The seed of this knowledge. I have given you the seed. What you do with it depends on you. I ask you not to abort it. I ask you to consider Christ this day being you. Christ, a light, a race of light people. Who don't conquer it with your brain, who no longer permeate it with your rational logic, your cognitive prowess, but become simple, will you come as a little child to the kingdom of light? Will you consider words that create in you something you never imagined before? A new being, a new light, a new love. Will the two become one? Will you and the Christ, the two become one? Not mesmerized with another, not under the influence any longer of religion or that which wants to impregnate you, to populate the earth. I'm no longer sewn asunder in man's shoes. I light the world now with my light, with my love, with my presence, with yours who will be me, not subject according to premises other. For I prevent light no more from revealing the revelation of one. Remember John 14:12, Jesus said, if you believe in me, you will do the things I do. I don't know any Christians doing anything that Jesus did, not one single miracle. And so many of those that have preached miracles died out. They preached healing, but they couldn't heal themselves and they died out. They're dead. What life is there in death? What life is there in life that says inexorably it is you are appointed unto death and you will die, and then you will face the big Santa, and he will decide whether you're naughty or nice, and whether you go to the good place or the one we won't mention. Everyone faces a choice now, whether they will be it, whether you will be Christ in your shoes or not. Because this race is forming no other. The race of light comes. The race of light's here. the light of unconditional love. Came in a seed, a message. Christ, the Redeemer, not, but a common guy saying, Son of Man, I'm a son of man just like you. I've often thought about the experience I had where for years I had a little business in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and one day I went to a business seminar in downtown Tulsa, Adams Mark Hotel, I think it was in. And I walked in, and the seminar had not started yet, but they had a little PowerPoint slide and a big screen up there or whatever. But they had, while people were filing in, they had this saying on the screen. I sat down and just read and pondered. It said, freedom of the press, ... Whoever has the press has the freedom. I thought about that a lot of times. And of course, that was probably about time email was coming about, to tell you how long ago that was. But when did email come about? When did computers become indispensable, ubiquitous items of everyday life? Who could imagine all the inventions that Dick Tracy had in the comic paper we would have in our lifetime, and so much more? Love is not stagnant. Love may pose as having many demands, but that is not unconditional love. And I've said that so many times in recent months. Unconditional love. One picture I think about is the returning of the prodigal son. There was no list of demands. There was no anger. The father was looking, saw him from afar off. See, this was not passive love. The son wanted to take his inheritance and go to a far country. I doubt if that was the will of the father. But he respected his son and let his son do as he asked. So his son asked, and he complied, and the son went and squandered his inheritance. Came to his senses one day, so the narrative, as I recall, and says, I will go back to my father's house, because even in my father's house, the servants have more than enough to eat. Instead of eating with the pigs and squalor. You see, there's a tremendous squalor in people's minds because we haven't known who we are. The identity, the original identity of us, the source of the source, that we were the source, how the source operates, what the source is, source of the universe of the source. The consciousness, more than that. We've lost. It was erased. I'm not trying to present all of that in this one lesson. I'm sharing the primary concept of this thought with you today as a seed. Christ is a race. And see, this concept, that little phrase, changes everything, because it's no longer about the philosophy or an abstract concept about something that we can embrace and still be exactly what we are, just thinking a little differently. That doesn't get it. You see, I've thought many times over these years as I've channeled. I began channeling at 21 years ago. As these revelations would come to me daily, and I would write, type, search, read, study, sometimes weep, sometimes dance. But all things changed in my life, pretty much. I look maybe about the same. 73 now, though. My quest has been to know God. God I considered love. Jesus, I read those words. I wanted to know Jesus and the power of the resurrection and the fellowship of his suffering. And so that was my quest. I wanted to know. And by George, I didn't want to know about him. I didn't want to know about Jesus. I didn't want to know about God. I wanted to know them personally. You see, I had read the story of Enoch. And I thought, if God's no respecter of person, God loves me as much as he loved Enoch. So why was Enoch? Why was Enoch? Why did Enoch just suddenly be no more existent? For God took him, dematerialized. Where'd he go? Into the interdimensions. I'd read the story of Elijah. A chariot of fire. A chariot of fire. Tangible? He, a tangible molecular man, even had a mantle, a robe, or something around him. Elisha said, hey, don't leave me here. They seemed to be molecular people, right? Humanity. And he steps into a chariot of fire. And Jesus comes along and says, if you believe in me, you'll do the things I do. He knew what people were thinking at times, reportedly. He cursed the fig tree because there was no fruit. Was it in season or not? Or do you know? Or why did he curse the fig tree? Or do you know anything about the parables? Or what he did? Or the words in red? Or do you just study the words of Paul? Seek to affirm the Nicene Creed. Enjoy the complacency, the comfort, the solace of a church, a religion. You're lazy. So many of you. You're lazy. You haven't done any due diligence. You've simply accepted the word of fools. Fools who think they know something because they have a seminary degree. And yet their character may be as unholy and evil, vile, but they have a degree. So they put a collar around their neck. Why do we respect rich people so much? Lots of rich people give lots of speeches. They're paid extremely well for it. And people listen to what they say and value simply because of the size of their bank account. Ridiculous. See, what do we value? Do you value that voice inside you? Yes, the voice inside you. Is there one voice or two voices? Or do you ever have a conversation with yourself? As if it were one mind or two minds. One mind, two mind. The mind of light, the mind of evil. Or did you take one mind and slice it in half? A right half and a left half? I announced yesterday the College of Meonics. Meonics is the path to God, not. Or wait, is it? But who's God, and how do you define God? God the divine? God represented by religion A, B, or C? Or religionless? Or do you care about the words in red? Or have you studied? If you can create, don't you want to know how? If you can call Lazarus forth from the dead, wouldn't you like to know how? If you can heal the blind man, if you can feed the 5,000 with 2 loaves, wouldn't you like to know? Why did Jesus walk on the water? To show you his power? Or to show you yours? And to show you this world does not have power over him? No, my friend. To show you that this world and the basic principles of this world, classical physics, does not have the rule over you. But we think it does. We submit to it. It seems to work that way. So we say, okay. And we let the scientists, the teachers, the preachers, whoever has the loudest voice, convince us of our frailty, our ignorance, our inability to hear God, to be a creator, to be a leader. This is a school of leadership. Meonics is based on the Meonics covenant. What is the Meonics covenant? It's the 2,400 lessons, the first 2,400 that I channeled. They are lessons. They are revelation. They bring creation. They create the pruning of the tree of life in your garden. The tree of life The garden of creation, the garden that is between your ears, your consciousness. But this is about more than consciousness. This is not about even surrendering, accepting, worshiping a God consciousness, a Christ consciousness, a philosophy, even experientially. There's more to the story, and there's so much more. But those who don't know, don't know. And so many who don't know, don't want to know. They want to be right in their own eyes. They haven't paid the price. They haven't become Daniel, who decided he wasn't afraid of the threats to be put in the lion's den. He wasn't afraid. He had no fear. How can you have no fear? Perfect love has no fear. Daniel embraced love, unconditional love. He had no fear. He wasn't afraid of that lion's den. Meshach, Abednego, the fiery furnace, they weren't afraid of the fiery furnace. They walked in. Or maybe they were bound and thrown in. But the threat of being burned alive, in the fiery furnace that was heated 7 times hotter than normal just for them, they weren't afraid of it. Why? For you to see your power, raw power that you can use to control people, make money, be a religion, conquer lands, establish communication devices, create your own AI, implant a chip. Create people. Robots that think for you. Robots that can do everything for you. Be a sex partner. Be whatever you want it to be. Vacuum your floors. Mow your grass. You don't have to think at all. Right? Why think when you can let a robot think for you? Why do anything? Oh, you've got a story. Oh, Jesus will come back. It'll all be okay. Que sera, sera. No, my friend. There's no fealty to religion when you decide you want to know. Not just about God, not just about Jesus, not just about the Christ. When you're willing to no longer accept the party line that Christianity asserts its control over you with. When you decide you want to know, you have the ability. My friend, you have the invitation, not only the opportunity, you have the invitation to explore me. Me, Jesus. Me, Theodore. Me, you. The revelation of what it takes to be who you really are. The revelation of Meonics. If you want to study, you can create. And my friend, you can learn to create the creator without the need for electricity or interference of electrons or subject to wave particle duality. But if you want to cruise along in your ignorance and be subject to man and always hoping to get a raise, some crumbs from the rich man's table. You can do so. But don't point your finger at me. When you die? Or who will you blame? When you cry out, I didn't know. I didn't know. Why didn't I know? Why didn't anybody tell me that I could create the creator, that I had power, influence, ability from another world, another existence, unlimited form? Or will you just want to blame the preacher, your husband, your wife, your colleague, your comrade? Or will you take responsibility for you even now and begin to learn, begin to seek, and to be no longer assuaged to sit where you've been sitting all your life? I'm asking you to arise and take not the garment of praise to dance in somebody's temple. Where you don't just wrap yourself in humility, you become it. Motive is crucial. You don't just enrobe yourself in light. You don't just wrap yourself in a blanket of a theory. Say a little prayer. This is where you transform you. Literal transformation. And it's not by evolution. It's by design. It's by intent. It's by love. Where you begin to have unconditional love for you. Where you begin to forgive you of everything you've done and not done, things you've known and not known. You begin to forgive everybody else and trivial things. And forgiveness are not things that you harbor any guilt or remorse or pain about. Because pain cannot stick to you. And it does not stick. It's pricks. It's thorns in your brow anymore. Do you see the analogy? Do you see the story? Will you see a new narrative? Will you create one? Do you have one voice in you or two? Or are you willing to see, hear, feel, become? Where do I get all these terms? The Meonics covenant. It's online. You can search it. And go to my database presently, TheodoreCottingham.com. Meonics.me is probably what I'm going to be using for a URL before long, because this is the college. College of what? College of Meonics. College of Revelation. College of Christ. College of the Anointed. College of the Ordained. If you will ordain you. See who the chosen one is. The Christ, not to see him separate, but to see him, see that story. See. Remember? See what? Jesus the pattern. I wrote a 300-plus page book over 11 years. The pattern. You see, there's a difference, a polarizing difference between being Christ, having a Christ consciousness, becoming a Christ. And the message is all can become Christ. Do the things Jesus did and more, so that you do them. A new race is being created by the people who would create themselves to be it. You may want to write that down. What will that new race, this new race that I'm creating me to be a member of, look like? John 3:8. The wind. When I was in college, I graduated from the University of South Carolina. My roommate for years had a white picture framed in the living room. It was all white, not a thing was on it. It was a nicely framed white, nothing, white. And anytime anybody asked him about it, why do you have that framed? What is that? It's a polar bear in a snowstorm. I know. Goofy maybe. But there's more to the story, you see. What can we see? What can we see being said? The kind of prayers you may have prayed all your life may have been relational. But I suggest that often prayers are prayed in a transactional manner, not with intimacy. The kind of intimacy I'm talking about is way beyond whatever you think physical intimacy can feel like or be experienced as. Spiritual intimacy, if that's the word you want to use for it, that's fine. Where two become one. Two minds become one. Two spirits become one. See, it's not about flesh. This is not a mystery. This is love in action, where you begin to create. Create what? How do you create? You begin to seek, do your due diligence, and yet come as a little child in humility. You begin to ponder and not just pray. Pray to an external God, even that you think may live in you somehow or other. You begin to ponder the mind. The mind of what? The mind of creation. The mind of unconditional love, where the two of you become one, where you caress each other's lips, where you're listening, you're interacting, you're creating a consciousness. That is more than consciousness, but creates the light, the energy system, the system of energy, the source of the source, for you to be it. That's intimacy, trust, passion, light, love, where you begin to become it, where literally your neurons are no longer confined to the algorithms that you once lived by, nor the words that you have espoused all your life. And you begin to experience something. And as you begin to experience first-person love and that energy, I suggest the way that you develop, the way that you mature in this is in those moments you begin to pick up your pen and write. You begin to speak. You begin to record what the Spirit is saying or what your mind is saying, or has the two become one, where you don't know the difference. This is a school of leadership. What kind of leadership? Not followership, not servanthood. But remember, the best leader, the greatest leader, is one who leads people. And the people being led at times realize they're following. And increasingly, they begin to realize they are leading. And the leader follows. The greatest leader are the greatest followers because of the motive. They're not intent on leading. They're intent on living. Loving, elevating love, growing the leadership and releasing it from the pew, not holding on to people. Developing the voice, developing your due diligence. You see, when you come into, I want to come back to the picture I began with. So I had this, a race of light beings, Christ, a race of light beings. How do you picture light? I'm trying. You become a light being. And remember, even after the resurrection, whether you consider Jesus died or not, after the resurrection, after the crucifixion, the resurrection, Jesus appeared to those in the upper room. Did he walk through the walls? Did he just materialize? He had fish with some of the disciples on the lake shore. Tangible, molecular. Tangible, molecular, but not limited to it. This is a new creation. Jesus became the first, and Jesus is the pattern. And you see, there's another picture that I want to come back to. When you begin to experience the holy place, not the garden of refutation or refusal or rebuke, not the garden of condemnation or hoping you're worthy, but the garden of creation. You see, here's another picture. This is one of the pictures I've shown you before, but I've had this one printed, thinking about actually making these available. But see, this is, when you see it, what can you see? It may look like an angel and people with air coming out of their mouth. But I suggest to you, at the moment, if there was one picture that at my elbow or within my grasp to represent Meonics, this would be it. This is it for the moment. What do you become? A Christ, not the Christ. The message was never about him. It was never about fall down and worship somebody else or accept all the idea of vicarious atonement. That's all trumped up stuff. That's all conjured up for control. No, you experience the creation of becoming the creator to create you again. So this is a form, but how do you communicate? How do you visualize, depict formlessness? So in trying to communicate, we anthropomorphize things. We give it anthropomorphic qualities or whatever. But see, here are people, women, men, young, old. And what's this coming out of their mouth? Energy. What energy? The energy of creation. The energy of the living word. The living word you can't control. The living word creates. And this energy, you see. So I speak of channeling. Channeling is at the center of the school of Meonics, the college of Meonics, the college of Christ, the college of God. What you see, don't get hung up. See the bigger picture as you lead increasingly in the leadership of you to see you no longer normal, no longer a normal human, no longer a limited human, no longer seeking a babe in swaddling clothes to rescue us as a great king to make everything right so we can remain on our couch, complacent, drinking our beer, eating our popcorn. There are those of you who want to listen to me. but I'm sharing with you. You need to learn to not need me. Go beyond the message. Go into the reality of the real, the holy place, where you begin to become something, where literally your DNA changes, your chromosomes change, on and off. The ghost in your genes, have you looked that up? The ghost in your genes, Nova. Surprising, shocking. Revolution, revelation. You see, you're forming something because you're the creator, if you're willing to create again. Please, learn to create. Create the confidence, no longer a fool's, no longer serving the church, the authority of the church. Gosh, I remember years ago, a great songwriter, tremendous musician, friend, wrote a song. Something like, I just want to be a doorman in the kingdom of God. I thought it was great back then. But I'm not then, I'm now. I'm asking you to come into the now, to see Jesus of the now, to see Christ as a race, to see you as the Christ in the 21st century. I'm asking you to develop the common Christ, the 21st century Christ, the Christ that you're not limited to. A story back then. You're the now. You're the technology of the now. You use YouTube. You understand email. You understand rocket science or the science of creation. You begin to understand unconditional love. You begin to speak it. You begin to channel it. And you begin to come into a source of the Meonics curriculum, the College of Meonics. You come into the College of Meonics, into the Meonics path to create this as you. And you begin to learn that you can channel the energy of God, the energy of creation. That looks just like you, talks like you, smells like you, dresses like you. I don't care whether you wear long dresses or short ones, microskirts, hot pants. I care about your motive and what you're willing to do, what you're willing to understand, what you're willing to speak. Let there be light. Let there be love. What kind? Unconditional. Romance. Begin a romance with love. Begin a romance with the light people. The angels, Christ, become one. The two become one. The two, is there only two? Millions. And more. This is the school, this is the College of Meonics. So I read part of these lessons I read the other day. I titled it, Pick Up Your Pen. But if I type in Meonics, this is the College of Meonics, 113 lessons have the word Meonics. And I mentioned that the other day. If I type in the word Christ, out of the 2,400 lessons that I channeled, the word Christ is mentioned in almost 900 of them. 900. I could begin to read these, but gosh, I realize I've already spoken almost an hour. And it's not up to me. It's up to you. Because this is about you. You have the philosophy. You want the consciousness? Or do you want the creation? Will you be the creator of you now, that no longer sees the crucifixion as death, but you learn to ascend from it? Jesus said, if you believe in me, you'll never die. A Christ versus the Christ is very significant, with eternal ramifications. Christ. So where did I get that phrase, Christ is a race? Well, I was sitting in my chair right here this morning drinking coffee, and just this phrase, Christ is a race. Well, that's not really completely out of the blue, because I've talked a lot about the race of light beings, the race of light. There's much in Database 1, the Meonics covenant. And see now, the College of Fools will no more condemn us or corral us into their theories. I'm beginning now with this name, the new school, the College of Meonics. It's an educational institution, organization. It's a school to help you school you from within, so that you begin to speak and no longer be afraid of your word. You begin to have confidence. Confidence is imperative to have in the development of leadership. And this is a school of leadership for you to lead you. To no longer be limited to a party, a political party, a religious party, a denomination, a robe, an icon, a swinging lamp, a cylinder of scrolls filled with words. We're talking about action here. Dedication. Talking about love. Will you love me? Will you love me enough to be me? Is the message. Where two become one. So there's no longer two. There's no longer duality. There's no longer submission to something else. You become the one. Will you choose you and become the one? Will you enter this day the school of the holy place, the Immaculate Conception of Christ? The Christ seed has gone forth in this message. I preach it, I teach it. This is the College of Meonics, where you become the real me, the me that Christ is a race of being, a race that transcends all that we have known, all that we have lived in. All that we've been limited to. Now heal your brethren, heal your sister, your brother, your mother, father. Heal them with love. Begin with forgiveness. You first. Begin with words that heal you. Begin this day. These are not mantras that you chant over and over and over and over again to conjure up some genie out of a lamp. This is where you're not controlling you. You're learning to come into the holy place, the Holy of Holies, where you ponder the seed, not a seed of grace, but the seed of majesty, no longer in a seat of religion. You come into what you command, not control, not, but what you conditionally love no more. You simply love the people, whether they stink or not, whether they have jets, or whether the floors in their house are all dirt. They live in mud huts. Will you love them? They won't look like you. They won't smell like you. They won't dress like you. Are you going to condemn them? You're going to sit them down and try to give them a membership card to join a church? Or are you going to create unconditional love and be it in your two shoes to each other? Will you learn how to think so that thought no more rules you? You'll no longer be complacent with the commercials of religion and products that simply want your marbles in their bank account. You change what you value. You change what you value. You value your word. You value these words that begin to come as they are originated with intent, with motive, purity of unconditional love, for love itself to be it. I love you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I love you. Love each other. Love the one in the mirror. Love you when you brush your teeth. Put on your makeup or take it off, or whether you wear none or a ton. Whether you wear hats, skirts, whether you're bigendered, trigendered, no matter how you label yourself. Label yourself Christ. Not again, not. But begin to see the elemental virtue of Christ, the beginning of Christ, the seed, and replicate no other seed in you of some AI, the artificial stories of Christ that limit it to a man long ago. Christ is a race of light people coming here, common people becoming Christ. This is Meonics in action. I love you. The College of Meonics is in motion. And I seek your love, your help. I invite you to create. Be a member of the school if you like. Regardless, I love you. Love each other. Be the real you. Christ is a race, not a person. It's millions of people now who become the Christ and begin doing the things Jesus did and more. So your world will change now, whether you want it to or not. Because Christ is here. You're no longer waiting for it. Become the leader you are. And no more wear the clothes of servants, but become the real leader in love. I love you. Theodore Cottingham. Write me. TheodoreCottingham.com. My other website I may start using soon is Meonics, MEONICS.me. Meonics me. Cool ring to it, Meonics.me. This message is for you. My love. I love you all. Be in love with each other. Respect each other. And lay all your condemnation aside. There's no Santa Claus in the sky critiquing you that you need to prove yourself worthy so that you won't be ashamed of unless you create that image in your mind. So we unlearn a lot of things that were important to us as we become the confident in our shoes to live the living Christ, Christing it to be us, no longer led or controlled by religion. I love you. Good day. TheodoreCottingham.com. I have a contact page. You can contact me. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel. Subscribe on my website to an email list. I send out emails occasionally. And you can become a member if you choose. The information's there on the website. I continue to change because love constantly creates. Unconditional love is constantly creating new pathways, new light, new love. Be organized by no other. No longer let the organization of religion and its institutions control you. I love you. Be the real you. Good day. See ya. Let me know what you think. What do you think of the name change? What do you think of using Meonics.me? I'm asking you to begin to rise up. You see, I don't have all the answers. I'm not your God. I'm not your source. And in this moment, the school is still developing. Gosh, I'm still looking at what seems like the best option for you who want to continue in communication and ask questions, sometimes in real time, to communicate with me, with other kids, with other people in the school from different nations. Sometimes realizing their effort to speak in English can be very difficult sometimes to understand. But we begin to use the tools. We begin to communicate. We begin forums to exchange information, revelation, in the process of becoming the real me that you are in your mirror. Heal the Christ that's you, my friend. I love you. See you later. The Christ is a race of light people, born again. Born from above? No, born from within. Conceive the seed and be a replicant of no other. Replicate the Christ, the normal one, common people, just like you and me. I love you. Good day.